Okay, guys and gals, Paul and James here, and we are going to do some boat tech talk today. So it's we've been doing a lot lately, on especially this big delivery that we just did. We learned our learning curve was huge. When
Yeah, for sure. I learned a lot, and those kind of hardship experiences are the greatest teacher.
Yeah, right. And so one of the big things that we want to show you guys is, and I, personally, I jumped on this boat. It was probably one of the newest boats we've ever delivered, and it was a 2000. I just wasn't expecting to have any problems. I really wasn't.
Yep. I think for sure that's kind of what got us, is that we were really trusting the boat. Was in great shape. It was clean, beautiful, new, and so we didn't think about those little things like that might be hiding from us.
Right, and I think a lot of James, like he good or bad, he went to Iraq. He fought for us. And he put himself in situations that we don't even talk about. You know what I'm saying? It was that bad. And he's also a helicopter pilot. So he's thinking the worst of everything all the time. So
yeah, and I was a flight instructor for years. So I taught helicopter pilots, and I also taught flight instructors to be flight instructors.
Yeah, right.
So a lot of that is all about what do you do in the worst case scenario.
And
Which
so
is obviously more dramatic in a helicopter because you got 30 seconds and not forever. But, a boat's great because
we throw out the anchor and you see me blowing chunks.
Yeah, and a helicopter gets more dramatic.
Yeah,
when something goes wrong.
Which we heard about it a little bit. Him and Jim were talking about they blew a motor basically in his helicopter, and he's saying, "How come you're not dead?" And James was
explaining to him that it's not as catastrophic as it sounds, but you have to do the right thing, otherwise it can get that way.
Yeah, right.
And it's the same thing on boats. It's just you got more time.
Right. And so we're throwing out the anchor, but James is calling at me. He's yelling at me, "Paul, I need this, I need that." And I'm going, okay. So I'm looking at the owner basically, and I'm saying, "Hey, where's your hose clamps?" And he goes, "Hose clamps? What's a hose clamp?" I'm going, "What do you mean, what's a hose clamp?"
And it's like such a basic thing that will save or sink a boat that, we just kind of assumed that everyone would have parts.
Yeah,
of
right.
But that was our fault.
Right.
We didn't really ask.
But it wasn't that we assumed it, because he had this kit. This kit was in the boat with us. This patch kit right here. So James says, just go to my patch kit, and it's all.
I even labeled it so someone else could find it, because obviously I know what's in that bag, but I wanted to make sure, and I was really glad I did, that I put a little label on it so I could just say, go get the bag labeled patch kit.
Yeah, and this is a pretty basic patch kit, but
very light. I just threw this together for the trip because no one had a formal patch kit. There's really great commercial options, like you can buy them prefab, and they have everything.
Right.
But this is just what I slapped together out of my stuff.
And you can see right here, he's got an envelope, and these are all just epoxy sticks and different stuff like that we can use if we needed them. And there's for fiberglass, for steel, for aluminum, for anything.
Yep.
So
that's the JB Weld water weld, and I love it because I've used it for everything from patching black water lines, which is obviously a really difficult repair underway because it's gross. And it worked perfectly. Just slapped it on with pressure and it's set. But it also will cure underwater, so it can be used to repair a hull breach.
So another thing that he had, this is where I came to get my hose clamps.
Yep.
And he had this little kit right here, which you can see just about every assorted hose clamp. And these don't have to be perfect hose clamps, because it's just for a patch job or an emergency.
Yeah, those are mostly takeoffs from when I replaced them with better ones or upgraded. So I just save them, and I keep in my patch kit to use for just a temporary repair.
Yeah, right.
And then just some small line that they're tied together with.
But this line could come in handy. You
never have too much line.
Yeah, you just never know. And then, this was really impressive because, believe it or not, we used on this trip, we actually used the hose clamps. And we use this right here. He has all different size hoses. He's got a big exhaust hose. He's got this hose right here. He's got little pieces of hose here. And this is all in his little patch kit here. I believe it was this one that.
Yeah, I think that's the one we actually used.
He's saying, "Paul, cut me a 1/2 inch, slice it right here." And this is how we had to make a repair for the generator. So we were able to make that because he had everything. And I can, I totally understand why the owner doesn't have something like this. But I won't go without this patch.
Oh yeah, that's why I threw it together. I was like, I want to have something.
A pair of dikes.
Yeah.
And now we did have a Phillips and straight blade screwdriver, but that's maybe something else I could add to this. And a crescent wrench
would be great.
and a pair
maybe
of pliers.
A small set of sockets, a nut driver, and then also I usually keep a utility knife in there, but that actually got lost in the fray. But, knives are always the most basic tool. Always have a knife on a boat. It's just they're universally
universal. You guys, anybody that follows me knows that during the loop, I almost lost my boat, and it was for a basic reason of not having a knife with me. I mean, so you've got to carry a knife.
And actually, after that video, that's when I told my wife, I was like, listen, don't ever let me go through a lock without a knife on me.
Yeah, right.
Because that's now religious for me after seeing you almost lose your boat for lack of a knife.
Yeah, right. It was really close, James. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like, that guy hadn't jumped out, I don't know what would have happened. There was nothing that we could have done.
Yeah.
So then another thing that we need to talk about is our safety, because I'll show you a little clip here. I had to go out on the front of the boat here. I had one of these underneath my jacket. James was making sure. The only thing that I didn't do is I didn't use this. I had my personal one, but I didn't have
I had
the hook.
my vest set up with a lifeline, but you didn't have one, so you didn't think to grab it. And that's why I like your working vest should be ready to go for any situation.
Yeah.
Because under stress, that's what you grab. The one you're used to.
Right.
Even though it's not the best one. Obviously, offshore, rough weather, if you go overboard, you want a type 1, like a marshmallow, something that's good.
I felt pretty secure, so I wasn't like... you were not letting me go out on the deck without it, but...
I was yelling at you a lot.
Yeah, and then I should have had this, and I should have clamped that to the rail, but I didn't, and I will be getting one of these right here.
And actually, this is actually just an anchor snubber. Is what this actually is. I just use it as a safety clip, but it's actually a little bungee anchor snubber.
Yeah.
It's just cheaper than buying the purpose-made clip, the tethers.
Yeah, because there's a couple of bad things that it could have happened that night. One is it was dark out, so.
And the nightmare is man overboard at night, because like we're the only ones who have the chance to rescue you, and we're in a like questionable boat, and it's dark, and I mean, that's the kind of thing you don't want to have to deal with.
So he has the whistle on here, and then we have our strobes.
It comes with, whistle and the manual inflatable stuff. I also keep a waterproof radio on it. And this radio
has a strobe on it.
When it goes into salt water, it will automatically set off a strobe light. So it doubles as my safety
emergency light.
But I can also talk to people. I can get the boat on the radio, tell them where I am relative to them, or I can talk to the Coast Guard. Also, another knife. I always keep a knife handy just in case.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I do is I keep a Sharpie in there. And that's for if we actually did decide to ditch. Then I've got a pen. I write on my arm the grid coordinates, so that way in the water with this radio, I have something to tell the Coast Guard. So I can tell them where we are.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people think about that, but anytime you leave the safety of the ICW, you got to be prepared.
It's on you. You know, right? That's the risk you're taking, and risk is the wrong word. It's the responsibility you're taking. It's for your own safety, the safety of your crew, safety of other vessels, and this isn't like what I would put on if I decided to abandon ship. This is my working vest. That's why it's an inflatable. I wear it. I wore it in the lock when we went through that little nothing lock where you didn't even need me.
Yeah.
I still threw mine on when I stepped outside.
Yeah.
Just because
all locks are going to require it, and this is what we consider a working vest. The U.S. Coast Guard does not even recognize these anymore, and the reason is because somebody died. They were this is an inflatable thing right here. Once you pull that tab, this thing inflates, and it pretty much just gives you the freedom to work. But if that failed, and then if you're in the water for a long period of time and it develops,
it will eventually lose its leak, and you'd have to keep reinflating it manually. And of course, if you're unconscious, you can't do that.
Right. So this is not. We would not.
No, the best option is probably those the ones you see the guys on barges wearing. They look more like a body armor thing. So they're slim. They don't choke you, but they're permanent inflatables.
Yeah, I have like a fishing vest. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, same kind of thing.
And that's what I would wear with pockets on it to put all my stuff in. And that's pretty much. I have both of them set up. So I'll have this one for working the locks, and then I have the other one for like if I'm going offshore. I'm taking that one with me, and that's the one. If I had to abandon ship, that's the one I want on.
Yeah, for sure. But the most important thing is the vest you'll wear, because nobody decides to go overboard.
No,
that's always going to happen without warning. You're not going to see it coming. So you need to make sure you've got your gear in a configuration that you can work in comfortably, so that you're not leaving it behind.
Yeah, right.
So that when you go on deck, it's not a big deal to throw on your vests and go do what you got to do.
Now, and this video really wasn't about that. This video is about this patch kit right here. But even on the loop, me and Bev always had a dry bag, and that's pretty much all of our documents, wallets, anything that we might need in a real hurry. And that way we can just grab it, and if we did it, we can use it as a flotation device.
Yep.
And we had it as.
And that's the thing I've noticed. Everyone has a ditch plan, but very few people have plans for the intermediate emergencies. Like, what do you do if you lose power in the canal with the tugs?
Let's talk about that real quick, because that's that was
the question that inspired this video, actually, from one of the viewers.
Yeah, and that comment actually came up where somebody asked, okay, you guys were prepared, you ditched in here, but what happens if you have to ditch in the ICW? Well, that particular boat, there's a couple things about that boat that, and other boats may not have this, but we did have a working bow thruster.
Yep, which you can always use your thrusters to maneuver even if you've lost your mains.
That's correct, and so we could have used that. We could have let the drift take us where it's going to go and the wind take us where it's going to go, and then use the thruster, and then we would have thrown the anchor out at the appropriate time to get out of the way of the
Just get out of the canal, out of the channel as much as you can, and maybe grab one of the pylons, the markers. You could tie off to that. And also be quick on the radio. Let them know you're disabled.
Yeah, right.
It's not necessarily a mayday call. I'm just informing you that I'm disabled in the canal. It's a pon,
actually, I think.
Yeah, you could call it a pan call, or even just tell them.
Right.
Like, hey, this is the motor yacht Griffin. In that case, we've lost our engine. We're in the middle of the canal at this marker or this grid coordinate. So the barges know when they're coming up to you that you can't get out of their way.
Yeah, right. And you want to do that fairly quickly. That was a busy channel, dude.
Yeah, so that would have had to been a quick reaction to make sure that nothing got out of hand.
And we had talked about that several times. We didn't practice one, but it was basically just get over to the side. And when we run the ICW, we do it like a car. So we are hugging that right side. We're in the center, but hugging the right side. So that if that's our go-to move, and typically when that engine goes, you get a warning. You get a few second warning.
You'll almost always get some indication of an engine failure, even when it's a fuel supply issue. You'll get RPM changes or something, and you've also got inertia. You got 9 knots of headway on.
Yeah, right.
You can maneuver without an engine for a few seconds.
Yeah, right.
So if you had that engine failure and you immediately cranked it right, you can drift out of the canal, and even if you run aground, it's better than being in the canal.
Yeah, it really is. So we had our plan. We had talked about it, and the plan was who's ever at the helm stays at the helm, gets the boat to the beach or to the shore as quickly as we can, and then hit the anchor. Right, and that thing had some beautiful tackle on it because we used it.
Yep,
and
it
actually worked.
I don't even think we threw out all of our road, and that was offshore. Yeah. We had more road to put out. Which we maybe should have put more road out, because we did drag a little, but once we got the stern anchor out, then we stopped dragging. So there was no sense in going forward again to re-rig the anchor once we were secure.
So anyway, I want to hear you guys' thoughts and comments on it. How are you prepared to go out, especially for the guys? A lot of boaters, most boaters never even take their boat out of the slip.
That's true. 90% of boats may occasionally leave,
Yeah.
But it's really the small minority of cruisers and loopers and real boaters that go out a lot.
Yeah, but you should have your little patch kit, and you should be prepared to be able to take care of yourself. And if you have to help somebody, that's
the other thing too is that it's not your responsibility legally, but I feel like it's your responsibility morally, just as a sailor out in the world, to assist other boats that need help. Because there's really not anyone else for them to call in a lot of places, like you saw.
Yeah.
Sometimes the only option is the other boat.
On the river, that's how I met the guy I work for right now.
Because they had problems, and you helped them out because you were the only option.
I wasn't going to leave them.
Yep.
I just, it's just like you guys over there. It's leave no man behind. I mean, you can drive away and you can turn your head, but I don't.
Yeah, I think if there's anything I can do to help another boat, even not necessarily in distress, just someone who's having a bad day, I want to. Because I want someone to be there for me when I need it. And I feel like that's part of the lifestyle in the community and the whole thing.
Yeah, and I can't thank James enough. I mean, he runs around these docks helping everybody with anything, and it's freaking awesome.
Yeah, a lot of people are starting the loop for the first time from here. And so there's just a lot of need for that knowledge and experience that, if you got it, it's free.
Right. So, and he shares it with them, and he's over there helping, and we got a couple that's leaving Friday, I think.
Yeah, I think that's their plan, and we're getting final stuff done.
Yeah, he was just on the boat a few minutes, and I'm like, take this, and he's lucky that I had this stuff.
Yeah, we just had parts on hand. We're like, hey, take this and order me a new one. You need it.
Yeah, right, yeah. Take this, and, I was like, I don't need to make any money off this, just place the parts, and I'm good. And he's going, thank you. Oh, my God, this is awesome.
Yep.
One of them was a depth sounder for his Navionics, and the other was a That's shunt.
Yeah, the battery monitor.
the
shunt.
Anyway, guys, I want to I want you guys to be, to take it seriously. If you take your boating seriously, you should have a small patch kit, even if it's something like this that you put together. This doesn't cost that much money at all. You can go to any.
It was literally just spare parts from my boat.
Yeah,
and so I guess like $10 worth of JB Weld.
And
boxes.
as you're replacing hoses and stuff on, cut that little 6-inch piece there, because you just never know when you're going to need it, and put it into your patch kit. Anyway, I hope the video helps. Make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button.
And let us know what your guys' kits are like.
Yeah,
what are we missing? What's your deck vest look like? What have you found you need? Because it's all from experience. There's no college course on this.
Yeah, right.
So I'd love to hear the lessons everyone else has.
Yeah, me too. So anyway, peace out. Remember, live life with no regret. We do. Thank you guys so much. We do appreciate it. Bye.
Thanks.